All right. Welcome everybody. Today's February 20th, and this is our Sigstore community meeting. We have a short agenda. We'll spend a little bit of time talking about the Sigstore bundle and Cosign 3.0, maybe. We haven't talked about that yet, but I think there's some opportunities to talk about what we might want to change in Cosign going forward. We'll spend the majority of the time there. I think the other things are just some FYIs. We can just kind of jump right into this. I'll skip over this first point just because that's where I think we'll spend the majority of our time today. I wanted to mention in Sigstore Go, we got a new the 0.2 release, and the primary change was a new tough client. We have a tough client in Go already. However, it is incompatible with some of the new metadata that we've introduced. This is a necessary change. This new metadata contains a whole bunch of information around when trusted targets expire, whereas right now we don't really have that metadata. It also specifies when you should trust a target. So for example, you could imagine that we'll rotate CA certificates periodically, and it doesn't mean that they are invalid. We shouldn't be removing them from the trust root, but it should just no longer be trusted on newer issued certificates. So this new metadata will encode these expiration dates. So at some point we'll need to switch over to Cosign, switch Cosign over to using this newer client. We need to do that with some thought because I know that a lot of people are relying on some of the non-standardized metadata. So TBD, I'll create an issue on that, and we'll get some community input on that. The other thing to call out here is the Open Source Summit North America in Seattle in April just released its talks. I wanted to call out a couple cool talks that I noticed that are related to Sigstore. One is a project called GitTough, which is a new project under the OpenSSF that combines some of the work that was done in GitSign, which is using Sigstore to sign Git commits, along with Tough for policy management. It looks like a very, very exciting talk. Very excited to see that. Another one is under the OpenGovCon track, not the supply chain security track, and it is on package repository security. So it's good, better, best for what we would like to see from package repositories across a bunch of different dimensions. You'll see Sigstore as one part of one of the bullet points there, which is signed build provenance. And then the last is a panel on improving supply chain security using OpenSSF technologies, Sigstore being one of these. And you'll also get to hear about a lot of the other efforts going on in the OpenSSF too. And I think today, SOSS Community Days, which was previously known as OpenSSF Day, will be, I think, announcing, we'll not be announcing talks. That might be in a couple days, but decisions will go out on talks. So by the end of the week, I think we'll have a schedule up. That's it for the agenda. So I think just before the call, Dimitri, we were talking about the bundle. So I guess maybe to start, would it help if I show you what we're talking about when we say the bundle, as it's a bit of an overloaded term?
Sure.
So bundle has had a lot of different meanings in Sigstore. Maybe we should have thought about this when we introduced this new bundle format. When you talk about Cosign, you'll see bundle referenced on the command line flags. That bundle refers to roughly verification metadata, so the combination of output from Recore and certificates and signatures. The bundle can also sometimes refer to what we upload to the OCI registry as part of container signatures. I typically don't see the bundle referred to as that. Typically, bundle refers to what we are writing to disk after a signing event and what we use to verify an artifact. The problem is this wasn't really standardized, and it really was just for Cosign. And as we introduced more clients across different languages, we wanted to standardize around a single format. And that's where we introduced what we now call the bundle. Again, it's a little overloaded, and part of the reason I want to mention Cosign 3.0 is I want Cosign to look more like some of the newer clients with a bit more of a simplified interface. One that very much still works for both public and private deployments and for bring your own PKI or key use cases, but one that doesn't provide as many conflicting options. That's kind of been one of the issues we've been running into in Sigstore, which is we want to support as many use cases as possible in Cosign. And this was a deliberate decision made by Cosign, which is a little different than some of the other clients, which are focused more on the public deployment of Sigstore. So the bundle, I will prefix this by saying the bundle is primarily designed around the public use case, but it should be able to support one, private deployments, two, bring your own PKI or more custom use cases. Those just might need some changes, but I don't think there's anything in the bundle format that's incompatible with that, because we've tried to think a little bit forward about how we might put verification metadata in. So when I talk about the bundle format, I did link this in the community notes. This is what we mean. It's in this repo called protobuf specs. We specify all of our formats in protobuf, which can be serialized into JSON very trivially, so that's fine for languages that don't want to deal with protobufs. The main part to mention here, we have this message bundle. There are three, or really just two parts of this that are relevant. One is what we call verification metadata, and I'll show you this in a second. And one is the content, which is going to be either a message signature or a DISI envelope. I won't talk too much about the DISI case, just because there's a few caveats there, but roughly you can think if you're signing provenance, if you're signing an attestation, this is where you'll put that. If you're just signing an artifact, the message signature will be in this field. Verification metadata, we have a lot of the specification is written as comments because there are some things that we can't really encode in the protobuf spec itself. We can obviously state when things are required, but sometimes it's hard to specify exactly what fields should be populated in certain circumstances. So I would very much recommend take a look at this, take a read over it. You'll see, for example, Sigstore Python does a really good job of following the specification. The other clients do too. We've just worked a lot with the Sigstore Python folks on this, so they'd probably be a good reference implementation if you want to take a look at this. Roughly what you'll see here is if we're verifying via key, here's a key. If we're verifying via certificates, we have two different fields, and this actually talks about why we have two different fields. And then when you want to encode the response from Recore, we have these transparency log entries, and then we have timestamp metadata. Really, this is just a specification for these three things, which is the certificates, the response from Recore, and optional timestamp metadata. You can start digging around where these are all referenced in the other files in this repository. This would be kind of a place to start. So hopefully this is helpful. Again, Cosign does not support this yet. There is a bug tracking bundle support. I owe a community member a response because they said that they were interested in taking a look at that. One nice benefit of doing this work too is that the other Sigstore clients support bundles both on output and input, which means that you can use one client to sign and a different client to verify. There's a conformance test suite which is designed to test this so that we make sure that there's compatibility between all the clients. Again, this means that we're going to treat Cosign less as a special case and more of as a now fully fledged standardized Sigstore client. Hopefully this answers your question.
Yep.
Lily?
This was very helpful. Thank you, actually. And it did answer some of my questions, I guess. So this is the client bundle, and if I'm understanding the intent correctly, like when Cosign starts to support this, is it going to replace the on-disk bundle that's currently described in the Cosign docs? Like, will those be one thing, or will those still be two different things? And then kind of relatedly, this seems different than the Recore bundle, which has some extra fields like the integrated time and all that stuff. So those are still three different things, or will they be two different things?
So to your first question about what's on disk. So one way we refer to that sometimes is like detached verification metadata. So the separate signature and certificate and response from Recore. There's been some talks with the clients whether or not we want to support that. I think there is a potential use case for it, which is, again, people who are kind of constructing their own clients and don't really want to deal with the specification. TBD, this is part of the reason I want to call this conversation Cosign 3.0. If we were to add bundle support with the current Cosign client, which I do plan to do, I don't think we should make a breaking change right away. We would continue to support the separate verification metadata, and we wouldn't make any breaking changes. I think if we were to introduce a 3.0, my personal preference would be to stop writing these separate bits of metadata to disk, because we just introduce more challenges to those who are integrating with Sigstore, because now you have to have separate files for certificates and separate files for Recore metadata and all this other stuff, right? Whereas this bundle format is one place to put it. To your second question, if you go into transparency log entry, which is under this, this is effectively where we take what we've been talking about, which is all that Recore bundle, and we put it into a protobuf specification. So you'll see here a transparency log entry includes the log index, the log ID, the integrated time. It's roughly a protobuf version of the SET, and all of the other metadata. You'll see even the SET is here, which we call an inclusion promise. So if we jump up to here, this is where the SET is. You could also imagine Recore itself. We could make a breaking change and return this transparency log entry rather than return whatever it's returning in the API right now. Again, it's not something we would do as a breaking change. We would add we could control this via content headers, for example. If you take a look at the Recore CLI, there's a format flag, and I believe you can say TLE, and it will actually output this. It will output a transparency log entry. That's what TLE stands for.
Okay, that's cool. Thanks. And where are some of those conversations happening right now on kind of like the Cosign 3.0 and like the future stuff? Is that on Slack mostly, or is there like a separate like SIG for it?
So Cosign 3.0, fresh off the press. Press. I think I was. This is the first time we've said it. Where it'll probably happen is in the client's Slack. There's a lot of good conversations going on there. I'll open an issue for Cosign 3.0 to start talking through some of these things and talk about issues that we want to include in it. More than anything, I think Cosign 3.0 will be about UX simplification. I'd like to still support everything that we do, and we can introduce a lot of these changes in Cosign 2.0 without making a breaking change. For example, we can add a bundle flag. We'll just have to think about, what do we call a bundle flag? Do we call it Sigstore bundle? Do we call it new bundle? It's going to be a little confusing for some time, but we can start transitioning users over.
Yeah. Good thoughts.
So
yeah, go for it, Dimitri.
So would it be correct to think about this bundle as the collection of all kind of the certificates that you need for all the parts of the Sigstore, so like the timestamp, TSA or record, whatever the issues, so like Fulcio or the custom equivalent, so all those things. So like a collection of those certificates, is it?
Just to separate the two use cases, there is a signing event for an artifact, and then there's the metadata needed to verify. To be precise, the metadata needed to verify the signature. So I guess the difference here is this bundle, this is effectively meant for a single signing event. So when we talk about verification metadata, we're including the signature over the artifact. We're including the response from Recore. We're including the specific leaf certificate. The other thing would be the trusted metadata that's needed in order to verify that Fulcio certificate or the Recore entry. And that we would call the trust root. And this actually gets into the other thing I mentioned, which is the new tough client. So if you take a look at this trust root, you'll see something similar, which is we have the transparency logs, we have certificate authorities, we have CT logs, we have timestamp authorities. And when you go dig into what each of these include, for example, if I were to look at a certificate authority, this includes the certificate chain. So you can imagine this is where we want to ship the root of trust for Sigstore, for specifically for Folcio, or in a private deployment, you could specify your own certificate chain here. Same with transparency log. If you want to specify your own transparency log, this is where you'd specify its public key and some log identifier for it.
Okay.
Same with timestamp authority is a certificate authority roughly.
I see. So the Sigstore bundle is more equivalent kind of a signature or extended signature with all the related materials.
Correct. Correct.
While the trust root is what, like, the certificates that you need to verify and.
Exactly. This trust root, part of the reason we did this is because we were able to introduce these time ranges, which is a validity period for that certificate metadata, the trust root metadata. That's kind of what I mentioned at the beginning, which is Tough didn't have a specification, and this is a nice way of encoding when something can be trusted, but saying it is still trustworthy, right? The way that Tough is currently set up is if you want to distrust something, you just remove it from the trust root. But that would mean that previously issued signatures with an old Folcio certificate could no longer be verified. But we don't want to do that. We want to still be able to verify them. So that's why you'll see these time ranges encoded. Remember how we do it for transparency log. I don't remember. Now I'm curious.
Are there any clients that are already using the trust root? Is it like Python
Yes.
client?
Yeah, the Python client, the JavaScript client, the Java clients are all doing it. The new Sigstore Go client also does as of this latest Tough change. So this client currently just does verification. You can see a really great example here of how to do everything. This is not signing currently. The plan is over time, this Sigstore Go client will get integrated into Cosign because effectively we right now have two Go clients. So Sigstore Go, roughly you can think of as kind of a clean room rewrite, which looks more like some of the newer clients.
I have one other random thought on this, which may or may not be off base, but it almost seems like for some cases, if you're doing an artifact signature with the Sigstore bundle, you get that metadata, but then the Recore bundle, if you are using a transparency log with your artifact signing event, that would almost be like a subset. Like the Recore bundle would be a subset of what you can put into the Sigstore bundle. Like, does that make sense? And is that happening? Would it make sense to happen? Because I'm kind of, part of my vision here is like making the transitions between Cosign and Recore like a little cleaner to get kind of the overlaps and the gaps figured out between the two to make it easier to use. So that also sounds kind of like maybe part of the Cosign 3.0 vision. I don't know. These are just thoughts. Has anyone like talked about that? Is that already happening or?
The Recore bundle is a subset because effectively it's the transparency log entry here. I don't think we've had any conversations about cleaning up that transition between Recore and Cosign. I think you've spent probably the most time of anyone lately looking at the Recore CLI. So I think you probably have kind of the most context on what's the state of that client versus Cosign. I mean, there's kind of an open question of like, does Recore CLI need to exist?
Yeah, and I think there's a good argument for it. Like it's kind of nice that each piece is modular and people can bring in the parts they need, but at the same time, we want to have a Sigstore ecosystem that's seamless for people, right? As well. So I don't know. I'm just thinking of instead of having all these different bundles for the different parts of Sigstore, if we could have one bundle that has some optional fields that might be like easier to like grasp for people down the line.
I would ideally have it be this bundle. Like a Recore CLI does output this bundle in one case. We should make it the default at some point.
Okay. Yeah.
I agree with you. I think it's fine that Recore has its own CLI because by design, like everything is meant to be modular. Folcio has its own CLI too. Well, does it? And Folcio is a very simplified client, so I don't know if we have a dedicated client. But this is the bundle specification that I think we'd want to use for everything. There's really no circular dependencies here, so I think it's very easy to just integrate this across any of the Sigstore services or clients.
Yeah, that would make sense, I think. I just wanted to float it.
Awesome. Well, hopefully this was helpful. If you want to chat more about this, we can set up a meeting later on to talk about what a 3.0 of Cosign might look like. In the meantime, if you have any questions, I'd probably recommend, especially with client compatibility, I'd recommend just posting in the client Slack. They're super active. You'll get a lot of great feedback from the other clients who all have their own thoughts on this too. The main thing is we just ideally want to try to be standardized across all the clients, and it's really great that everybody seems to be very responsive across the board. So if you want to make a change to one, it's pretty easy to make a change to all of them. But hopefully the bundle format will make it so we don't have to make too many changes that are breaking.
What do you see as the next big steps, especially in terms of the Cosign command line and the Go library or the Go client?
I think the main thing would be, let's see if I can find this. Once we have this bundle format, there's two things we need. Once we have this bundle format, and then once we have, and I don't know if it's tracked in an issue, it is. These are the two biggest things that we're missing, which is the bundle format, which is needed for conformance testing and conformance testing. Once we have these two, Cosign will be fully compatible with the other clients, plus everything else that it supports. The next thing then I think would be UX simplification. Oh, I guess the third thing would be integration of the new Tough client, because like I mentioned, we have this new trusted root metadata that we're shipping, which again has this nice property of like having validity periods and a lot more well-structured metadata. Those three things are top of mind. We get those three done, Cosign will be in a great state, will be fully compatible with the Sigstore ecosystem as is currently specified. And then from there, I think we can start talking about simplification and some of these other improvements around verifying, what else is top of mind? Verifying signing events from automated workflows. That's another thing that needs some UX improvements. So for example, like right now you have to specify GitHub identity in a really long string. And so it'd be nice if we'd be able to simplify that. And then also not just support for GitHub, but all of the other CI workflows that are now supported within Sigstore, like GitLab, Circle CI, Build Kite. So these would be things I'd probably put under kind of a Cosign 3.0 so that we can make a breaking change and actually improve the UX.
Maybe you could either drop them in either in the GDoc or in clients or somewhere just for reference.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. I'll
throw
throw all these.
Whenever, just so this
Yeah, I can definitely do that.
So that you could refer to them. Thanks.
Alrighty. Well, was there anything else that we wanted to chat about?
There's exactly 1 month until KubeCon.
Well, hopefully you've got your talk. Well, have you gotten your talk written yet?
Working on this, working on the slides.
Oh, I guess one other thing to call out, the OpenSSF reposted Yahoo's article on integrating Sigstore. So if you didn't see that, that's now on the OpenSSF blog. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Here we go. It is a case study. Let's paste this here. Sweet. Alrighty. Well, with that, we'll call it and meet again in 2 weeks.
Thank you. Very helpful.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.